name is India. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am filming a video about my 2024 reading goals, I guess. I'm not really a goal person, but I do like to take a moment to think about what worked and what didn't work for me reading wise in the last year, which I made a video on kind of my reflections of 2023 reading wise, and pay attention to set some intentions around what worked and what I think will help me have just a better reading experience in the next year. I have some tea with me, and I'm sure at least one of my cats is gonna come pop her head in frame, but let's get started. I have most things written in my little reading journal. It's not the most aesthetic. Only one of these has a full spread, but I am proud of that. Look at that. We're not even starting there though. We are starting with the list of books that I want to get to. I don't know how many there are unless I took a second to count, but let's just go through them. Some of them I physically own, some of them I don't. That's okay. I'm hoping for the ones that I don't own to read them either from borrowing them from work or the library. First of all, I want to read Nona the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. This is the third book in the Locked Tomb series, starting with Gideon the Ninth. I read Gideon the Ninth and Harrow the Ninth last year, and I'm just ready to jump back into this world. I definitely liked Harrow the Ninth a lot more, or the reading experience was a little bit better for me, just because I felt like there was a lot more synchronicity between some of the challenging elements of reading the book and not knowing what's going on and the plot. So I'd like to read that. I want to read Death by Laura Thalassa. That is the last book in the Four Horsemen Quartet, Four Horsemen series. This is a paranormal romance about the horsemen of the apocalypse who come to Earth, and each of them has an opportunity to end the world, and each of them is faced with a heroine who will go to many lengths to stop them. So I'm not halfway through this, but I'm enjoying it a lot. Next, ma'am. Eleanor's blocking my physical book, so I'll just skip this one. I want to read In Memoriam. I do currently have a hold on it from my library. This is, it's by Alice Wynne. Yeah. This is a romance, literary fiction about two men during World War II. And it's supposed to be really sad and really well written. A bunch of my coworkers at the bookstore that I work at love this, to the point where I witnessed and then was also the center of many flocks of booksellers being like, you need to read this book, to other of our coworkers. And I have already had my coworkers ask me if I read it. The answer is no. Then Scythe by Neil Shusterman. I used to work in a middle school, and there was a student who would find me and be like, Miss India, you need to read this book. And I was like, gotcha, I hear you. And I think I actually feel like reading it. I had a really fun time reading one YA series, or starting one last year, so I think, I don't know, might as well give it a shot. I want to read The 100 Years' War on Palestine. I forget who wrote this, but I am in line in the library to get a hold of it. Let Us Descend by Jesmyn Ward. This is the most recent of her books. I've read, I believe, 2 of her books. And this is a book that I am reading with my grandpa. We try to do that sometimes. Next is a book that I don't know the name of, but it's the second in the Folk of the Air, there we go, the Folk of the Air series by Holly Black, starting with The Cruel Prince. Really loved it, want to continue. Then I want to read A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. I had a really fun time exploring what I like, or just exploring, period, science fiction last year, so I want to continue that into the next year. And I just have a feeling that Becky Chambers is going to hit a sweet spot in my reading. Moving on to the books that I own. First of all, I want to read Four Souls by Louise Erdrich. This is the next book in the Love Medicine series. I'm reading it in a order that someone on YouTube recommended. So I started with Tracks, and the next one is Four Souls. Then, I don't necessarily want to read all 4 of these books, but I want to read a book by Thomas Hardy. I read Tess of the D'Urbervilles when I was in high school. I've been meaning to read more of his stuff since then, and that was 5-6 years ago. So let me walk you through my options. I have The Woodlanders, which very much seems like a book that talks about the relationship between our amorous attempts and our amorous happenings and nature. I have Jude the Obscure by Thomas Hardy. This is supposed to be real sad. All of his books are supposed to be really sad. This is about a man falling in love with his cousin. Maybe. I then have The Return of the Native. This is a very worn copy, and I'm just kind of excited to get to it. We've got a main character called Eustacia. Oh, I've read not only, wait, okay, backtrack. I read Far from the Madding Crowd because I really wanted to watch the movie with her. Anyway, it's about some people. Turns out I don't know what anything's about. And then The Mayor of Casterbridge. This is about corn and agriculture. So I'd like to get to one of these. I'm not really sure which one is striking my fancy or what I'm pulled to right now. But the next time I'm in a, hey, I want to read a classic mood and I don't feel like reading these, I will get to that. Next, I want to read a Bronte book. So that would either mean rereading Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, which, again, I read this in high school and I don't remember anything about it. Or reading Villette by Charlotte Bronte. This is about passion, personal integrity, and the struggle of an individual to preserve an independent spirit in the face of adverse circumstances. This apparently is my uncle's favorite Bronte novel, so yeah. And then lastly, I would like to read Middlemarch. I just want to get to it. I think it'd be a good time. I think now's the time for me to read Middlemarch. And no one can tell me otherwise. Okay, those are the books that I want to get to. Let's talk about my goals and then we can talk about my bingo board. So again, this very pretty page is about my goals, and this is a way for me to track if I'm meeting them, if I'm reading books that meet those goals in each month. It's not that I want to read one thing that fits into each goal each month, but I just want to see where I land. So first up, I want to read books that are outside of my comfort zone. This worked really well for me last year. I really pushed into science fiction and paranormal romance. I just want to continue reading things that I thought that I wouldn't read, or that I thought weren't really in the types of genres that I read. So yeah, pushing up against what I think I read, reading outside my comfort zone. Secondly, I want my physical TBR to be at a net zero or net negative change. So if I acquire a book in the month, I want to either read one of my or more of my physical books so that I'm either staying the same or decreasing my TBR. This just feels like a neutral way for me to think about my TBR. I want to read it, I want to get to it, but also, you know, sometimes the things I'm interested in are not the books that I own, and that's all right. This is a collection for my entire life, and I don't have to get to all of these right now. 3, I want to continue reading in series that I've started. So this includes the Folk of the Air series. This includes the Love Medicine series. You know, I'd like to read Summer by Ali Smith so that I can finish up the seasonal quartet and then maybe pick up a companion piece. Yeah, I just want to keep going in the series. 4, I want to read some of the books that I've been putting off, or at least challenge myself to pick up the titles that I've been putting off. I went through and I made a stack, which you can't see because my chair is in the way, but I have a stack of books behind me that I've been putting off and I'd like to get to. Again, they're not necessarily books that I want to get rid of because I could see myself reading them in a year, in 5 years, in however many years. I think that making it a goal to get to it will mean that there's a higher likelihood that when I'm trying to figure out what to read, I'll be like, oh, maybe it's time for this guy. 5, I want to make an effort to continue reading diverse nonfiction. I feel like I'm pretty good at this, but again, it's a goal because I want to continue doing it. So I liked a lot of the nonfiction that I read last year, and I just want to continue reading it. And the word diverse here applies both in terms to the topics that it discusses and the people who write it / the people who it's about, but also like the types of nonfiction. So memoirs, poetry, scientific nonfiction, nonfiction that's about like one certain subject, history. Yeah, it's about continuing to do something that I do. And then the last goal is about reading books that I have access to before their publication date. I've mentioned this once or twice in this video. I work for a bookstore. I have access to advanced readers and advanced listeners' copies of books. So I just want to actually take advantage of that and read the books before their publication date. So far, so good. I'm in the middle of Interesting Facts About Space by Emily Austen, which comes out January 1st, and I'm really enjoying it. And I just want to, you know, read these books. I will save them, but then I'm like, but if I set out a date and like actually keep the dates that they're published in mind, I will actually get to them before then. Last section, let's talk bingo board. I made myself a bingo board last year and it was really fun to use in my reading, and I made myself a bingo board for this year. This is what it looks like. One of my managers said that it was very Heartstopper-esque, which I'm taking as a compliment. But I'll like put an image of it up so that I don't have to hold it up while I'm talking about it. We're gonna go through and chat about the prompts that I chose. There are some repeating prompts. There are prompts that fall under similar veins. Like I decided that I wanted to do like color of books as a prompt. So yes, we have Yellow Book, published before 1997, a released arc. So this would be like, I have some physical arcs that have already been published, and then also like listening copies and readers' copies of books that have already been published that I have downloaded. A pink cover, a reread, an orange cover, a red cover, a new author. And for me, this is not necessarily a author who has just published a book, but an author who I've been meaning to read but haven't. So like, I have some books by Jacqueline Carey that I haven't read yet. A.S. Byatt would be a really good example, as would like Zadie Smith. So I definitely have things to choose from. A book in a day, a book rec. So this is something that either like a book that a friend of mine has been recommending to me, or even just like one day at work being like chatting with my coworkers and asking them to recommend me a book. A gift, so a book that's been given to me, not necessarily in this year, but in general. An audio arc, a white cover, an e-arc, a blue cover, a black cover, another new author. I want to read a library book, and I'm not sure if I want this to be an actual like physical library book, or like count a book that I get off Libby. Pre-2020 TBR, so this is a book that's been on my shelves before 2020. I have a pretty good memory of what I've had for longer, so this shouldn't be hard. A book over 600 pages. Mostly, again, this is just another thing of, I want to read Middlemarch. A reread, and then a green book and a purple book. Okay, those are all of my goals, intentions, like things that I'm keeping track of as I'm reading in the coming year. Let me know if you are someone who has goals around your reading, or if it's something that you're like, this is what I do to kick back and relax and just enjoy my time. Like, I don't really want to put pressure on it. I understand both sides, and definitely sometimes these things can be something that gives me, like, pushes me into the new year and pushes me into motivational reading, and sometimes I just forget about them through the year. So yeah, I will see you the next time that I see you, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.